Well, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuffs and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, I have many stuffs and things to talk about. We're going to go through some news about the channel and upcoming videos. We're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on in my life, just a little update on that. We will talk about a very weird tin of Elizabethan mixture that I got recently. We'll talk a little bit about why I should never mention the Seahawks during a Sunday Stuff and Things, apparently. And then, of course, we will get to your questions in hashtag askstuffandthings. Got a lot of good ones this week. But first, news about the channel and upcoming videos. We have just finished, or just now, I just finished recording the very last episode of the Bloodborne playthrough. I think it's going to be 66 episodes long in total, which is, I think, fewer than like my Dark Souls 3, those playthroughs. But the game is amazing. The last episodes are going to be amazing as well. I think that's going to be in a couple weeks those episodes should air. So for those of you who have been following along with that series and enjoying it, leaving comments, all that good stuff, the end is nigh. And then we'll have to be thinking about the kind of game we'll be playing next, because there's going to be a gap. I've mentioned this before. I was going to play Cyberpunk 2077 next on the Stuff and Things Plays channel, but that's not coming out until December now, so we're going to have about a month gap. Actually, I guess a little bit less by the time those episodes air. So I don't know. We'll have to think of some things that can maybe fill that gap between Bloodborne and Cyberpunk, but we shall see. I have also recorded a very, very exciting video for the Stuff and Things channel. This video will be posting Wednesday, and it is the culmination of months and months of pining for a certain thing. It's going to be big news for the channel. I'm very excited about it, so be sure to watch Wednesday at noon Pacific time for this extremely interesting, very exciting, and very important video for the channel. What's going on in my life? I'm still not feeling amazingly well. I still don't think I've got the Rona, but, you know, headachy week. I feel like I did in my 20s when I had, I guess it was my very early 20s, I had mono, which seems to be when you get mononucleosis. Just really tired and exhausted and weak all the time, and a little headachy, don't really have a fever or anything, so I'm just kind of dealing with that. It's like you're not sick enough to stay in bed all day and just wallow in the sickness, but you're also not well enough that you feel as though you can do all the things that you would normally do. So it's kind of annoying, kind of frustrating. Hopefully we'll be kicking that to the curb soon. I'm trying to drink lots of water, taking vitamin C and zinc and D and all that good stuff. So we'll see what happens there. And now for the main topic of this Sunday Stuff and Things. I've got in my pipe here a little bit of my absolute favorite Elizabethan mixture. You will know that that's my favorite if you have watched any, 3 or 4 videos. I'm sure I would have mentioned it at some point in any one of those videos. That Paterson Elizabethan, formerly Dunhill Elizabethan, is my favorite everyday, all-day pipe blend. Let me light this up. Yes. There was a period, a very long period, and a very difficult to navigate period when Elizabethan mixture was not available. All the Dunhill blends were taken off the market. Dunhill decided they were no longer going to be in the pipe blend business anymore. And the Scandinavian Tea Group, which produced those blends, everyone kept thinking, are they going to re-release them? Are they going to just take the formulas and do a different series using all the same blends, but just call them something different? And then finally, the dawn broke, the clouds parted, and STG announced that they would be re-releasing all these blends under the Peterson name. And so ever since then, I've been enjoying my beloved Elizabethan. And one thing I would always say about these blends, when they were under the Dunhill brand and now under Peterson, I had never had the Murray ones. Actually, I did have one tin of Elizabethan, the Murray version, and it was delicious. But for the most part, it's been the STG-produced Dunhill and then the STG-produced Peterson versions of these blends. they have always been super consistent. There are some blends, I'm trying to think of anything off the top of my head. I'm sorry about the throat clearing and stuff. Like I mentioned, hold on, I'm a little sick. Okay, hopefully my voice is back now. I don't know, there have been some Cornell and Deal blends and some other blends where you get one, you'll have a blend and then a couple years later you have another tin and it doesn't taste quite the same because, you know, every year they have a new crop in. Obviously they get large amounts of a specific leaf that they're using and then they try to do what they can to maintain consistency from year to year and tin to tin. But for the most part, the STG blends have been super, super consistent. But recently, I cracked open a tin of Elizabethan and something was wrong. Something was very strange. As soon as I cracked it open, I got this aroma that I wasn't expecting. But again, as I mentioned, I've been kind of sick, so I thought, oh, maybe my sense of smell is a little off right now. It's this tin in particular, I took out some leaf, some tea, and I prepared to put it into my pipe. I loaded it up, I lit it up, and I thought, what the heck is going on? This tastes nothing like Elizabethan. And then again, I thought, okay, maybe it's just my sense of taste is going. Maybe I do have the Rona and I can't smell or taste anything properly. I went through an entire bowl just being disgusted the entire time. And it never really occurred to me that there was something wrong with the tin because, as I said, they've always been super, super consistent. And so I thought it was me, or I thought maybe I am sick, or maybe I've just suddenly lost a taste for Elizabethan, which would be a horrible tragedy if that were the case. But then I went and I got another tin. And this is after having a couple bowls of this really odd tin and just not enjoying it at all. I finally thought, maybe I'm not sick, or maybe I am sick, but maybe it's not affecting my sense of taste or smell. Maybe I should crack another tin open. So I did. And that is this tin here. I'm putting that aside because, frankly, I'm not really enjoying it at the moment. Lots of frogs and lots of throats. This tin of Elizabethan I cracked open, and I took a whiff. And let me open these both. I actually drew a little Mr. Yuck face on the back of this one so I'd remember which one it was. Crack both of these open here. It's the oddest thing. Oh man, I can smell it now. It's just this wave. Ugh. So here's this tin, the Mr. Yuck tin. Here's the normal tin. For those of you who don't know, if you're maybe too young or in a different country, Mr. Yuck were these little green, frowny face stickers that they would put on like poison. If you had a jar of poison under your sink, you would put a Mr. Yuck sticker on it so your kids wouldn't drink it. Anyway, so that's serving that purpose, so I won't use this. Here's the normal Elizabethan. Now, obviously, you can't smell this, but I will do my best to describe it to you. Yeah. That's what you expect to smell when you smell a tin of Elizabethan. It is a beautiful melange of red Virginias and Perique, just dark and mature smelling. You get a little bread, you get a little grass, you get a little hay. It just smells heavenly. It's both light and fresh smelling, but also dark and deep smelling at the same time. It's fantastic, and I love it. This tin, you put your nose in it. Holy mother of God. I think, first of all, you're overwhelmed by just this cloying sweetness. It smells so sweet and not at all like the very natural, unflavored kind of aroma you get from the normal tin. And I think it's like a French vanilla coffee creamer or something. It's gross. Yeah, it's definitely vanilla. I think I pretty much determined that it smells like vanilla. So then I thought, did I get a weird tin from a weird batch where they accidentally topped it with vanilla or something? Because STG makes a huge range of blends. In fact, don't they make Captain Black I'm totally blanking on this now. I think they own Lane Limited, don't they? Or am I completely confused now? We'll strike that if that's not the case. But I know they make all sorts of different blends of various levels, I suppose. Or I guess it's like having a premium brand and then also having a bargain brand or more of a over-the-counter kind of blend. They make those types of blends too, lots of aromatics with lots of toppings. This smells like, it smells like a tin of Captain Black or something. Now, the components in both of these tins look very similar. The cut is the same, the feel is pretty much the same. This one maybe feels slightly gloopy, but the flavor is so different. And I realized that what happened is this has a topping on it, and this does not, or at least this one doesn't have a very obvious topping that changes the flavor. It might have some sort of topping, but this one has added flavor. It is a topped flavored blend. And it's a really interesting illustration of having basically, as far as I can tell, the exact same components. One blend tastes absolutely amazing and I love it. One blend tastes horrible and I hate it, and I never want to smoke it again. To me, that is what a topping does to a blend. Now, not always. There are some cases, in fact, we just did the Sutliff Barrel Aged Series 1 that has a little bit of an apple-y kind of topping, or at least it was aged in an apple brandy barrel. That flavoring was very mild, very nuanced. It didn't really bother me that much. This is very heavy-handed. It's gross, it's gloopy, it's sweet, it's disgusting, and I hate it, and it completely ruins this tin. This tin is pointless, it's useless. There's no reason to have this tin, other than for illustrative purposes when I'm making this video. So I don't know what happened. I don't know how this tin got flavored or topped with what smells like a vanilla, really gloopy, sugary vanilla topping, but it did, and I ended up with it, which I think is hilarious. It has the Mr. Yuck face emblazoned upon it, so I will never accidentally smoke it again. But it just goes to show you, you can't beat pure, unadulterated tea goodness. And I'm very glad that they didn't just like change the formula or something, at least as far as I know. I guess if I open any more tins like this that taste like this, and then they continue to consistently be the kinds of tins I'm opening, then I'll have to surmise that it wasn't just a one-off mistake and that they are changing the blend. I would hope to God that that's not actually the case, because this is unsmokable. This is my favorite, it's delicious, and I will love it always. Hopefully, they will continue making it this way, the proper way. Oh boy, it always seems to happen, doesn't it? Confidence. Pride goeth before a fall. Last week, I mentioned how the Seahawks, maybe it seemed as though their defense was improving. Maybe it seemed as though their defense could actually contribute to a win instead of the offense just having to play over the level of the defense. They would have to save them every single week as the defense just allowed run after run after run. And then they played the Bills, and then the Bills destroyed them, and the defense was horrible. Like, historically horrible. So, I don't know if this means that I will never speak about the Seahawks again, but it does seem as though when I talk about them in a optimistic way on the channel, that it doesn't go well after that. And they're playing the Rams this week. I think it's a 1:25 kickoff. And now I just don't know what to say. I don't know what to think. I don't know what they're going to do, and I don't even want to make any sort of prediction or have any sort of optimism going into this game, because it seems like if I am optimistic about what will happen, then they will prove me wrong. So we're just going to leave that there. We're going to see what happens. Maybe I won't really even talk about them until they get into the playoffs, and I think they'll still probably get into the playoffs, but this defense is a problem. This defense is a huge problem. In fact, they're such a problem that maybe they will cost them the win this week. A little reverse psychology, Seahawks, huh? We'll see what happens. All right, gang. talking for any length of time is a little bit difficult for me, so we're going to try to get through these hashtag Ask Stuff and Things questions. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the next Sunday Stuff and Things, tweet at SAT Bradley with the hashtag AskStuffandThings, and I will do my best to answer your question on the next Sunday Stuff and Things. Also, you can try to ask me questions on Patreon. Also, I try to get a couple comments from YouTube every once in a while to throw them on the questions as well. So let's start with a Patreon question from Andrew A. Andrew says, I've been smoking a pipe for a little over a year now. Only 2 to 3 bowls a week usually. And I feel I'm just now getting to the point where I can start to distinguish between different blends, sorry gang, on more than just the highest of levels. I've noticed though that I seem to get all the unique flavor at the beginning of the first 1/3 to 1/4 of the bowl, or 1/4 to 1/3 of the bowl or so, and then usually once I get past there, most blends just start to taste the same. This is especially true once I relight. What is your experience like as you smoke down a bowl? Do you notice a drastic change in flavor? Does relighting affect the taste? Do you notice any difference between relights with matches or a lighter? I guess those are several questions, but generally related. This is interesting. I typically do a lot of relights. I don't always finish a bowl right after I've started it, or I don't start it and then smoke it the whole time and finish it. Usually I put it aside for a while, maybe hour or two, maybe more. What I have found is that your pipe has a big effect on this. If it is a dry smoking pipe, if it is a pipe that's not prone to getting wet, that makes an effect, or that has an effect. Also, if the blend is very wet when you start, there's more of a likelihood of that wetness to kind of permeate the end of the bowl, and then you're going to get a much different flavor and a much different experience at the end of the bowl. So my advice to you would be to make sure that the blend is at the proper moisture content when you're starting the bowl, and then also just try to get a pipe or find a pipe that is a dry smoker. And for the most part, that shouldn't be too much of an issue for you. Next, from Twitter it's ArnowGB at GB_Arnow. Howdy. First question I addressed to you for Sunday Stuff and Things. Well, thanks for the question. I waited far too long. I've been exploring the shoe, especially boots subject. Oh, okay. I've been exploring the shoe, especially boots subject recently, and just discovered it's a broad one. Have you ever had any interest on the matter? What brand or kind of work boot do you use? I'll be addressing more questions from time to time. Best regards from Barcelona. Hey, thanks for contacting us from Barcelona. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over words, I'm coughing, I'm clearing my throat. We're gonna get through this. I have done, I don't know, quite a few videos relatively on shoes. You should look back in, what playlist would that be? Probably just Stuff and Things Reviews playlist. I've done some dress shoes, I've done some boots. The boots I wear for work are not anything special. I just typically wear like cheaper hiking boots, things that you can get for like $40 that will last you a year, and then you just get a new pair, because I find wearing nice, expensive leather work boots with the job I do, no matter how well you take care of them, they are not going to last very long, and the cost to utility ratio is way too low. So I just get kind of lighter, maybe less durable, but ultimately far less expensive hiking boots to wear when I work. And then much of the time I'm just wearing muck boots when I'm working, like big rubber boots, because it's wet in the Pacific Northwest. As far as like boots, I've done a video on my Alden Indie boots, which I love. They're my absolute favorite boots that I've ever had. I don't have them right now because I actually sent them away to be reheeled. So I may do a video soon just talking about that process, and it's been probably about 5 years since I got those boots, so maybe it'd be cool to do an update video on those, so stay tuned. Next, from It's Your Boy Ted Bradley at I_like_SAT. Ted says, Dad ordered your new shirts for us. And I've heard from Jason, his dad, about that as well. They look great, and I saw a picture of them in their shirts, and they do look great. Remember, this is a great opportunity, if you would like some Stuff and Things merch, help pay off the fancy camera that we'll be getting at some point, The merch link should be in the description box below, and we have I Like Stuff and Things shirts in men's and women's and unisex, whatever, with sweatshirts, hooded sweatshirts, all sorts of different colors. Very fun, very cool. You should check that out. Do you have a preference towards any regional cultures as opposed to another? Or do you generally try to diversify in all significant aspects? Japanese-style games, films, etc. over Western? I don't know that I have a preference in culture. I mean, I grew up and am subsumed, a product of my culture. So that's Western culture, kind of European culture, and then with American veneer over top of that, and then there's all sorts of multicultural influences in there as well. I have always had a liking for Japanese culture, Japanese things, Japanese movies and games and stuff like that. That's kind of something I've been into. I've always been kind of into British stuff, I mean, you couldn't call me, I don't think you could call me an Anglophile, but I've enjoyed a lot of British music and film. Like, I don't know, I don't think I have a particular preference for any sort of culture, but I do enjoy a variety of things from all sorts of different cultures, different films and music and entertainment products and things like that. I guess if I had to pick the number one, it would probably be Japan, because they have a very large cultural output that has a pretty big influence on just world culture in general. Obviously, America is probably the forefront of that, for better or for worse. And then I would say Japan is probably second, if you think about it. Next from Dapper Dan, but yeah, thanks for the question, Ted, and thanks for getting those shirts. I'm glad you like them. Next from Dapper Dan at Orion Cloned, Bradley, I just saw the new Sunday video. I hope you don't have the Rona. I hope so too. What is wrong with Seattle's D, in your opinion, of course? Seattle Seahawks defense. We don't want to get too deep into this, obviously, because we just had our little bit of Seahawks chat, but they can't stop anyone from doing anything, is when you get right down to it. I think they are on pace for having the historically worst year ever as far as yards allowed. They're pretty bad. I think they're allowing 30 points a game right now, which is not good. They don't have much of a pass rush. The last game they actually kind of did. They sacked Josh Allen 7 times, I believe, in that game, but it didn't really matter. They were blitzing all over the place, getting pressure on the quarterback, but they could complete pretty much any pass they wanted. Our secondary is not good, and obviously our starting cornerbacks are injured right now, so many teams have many injuries. Our secondary has been totally decimated this year. I don't know. They just have to tighten up. They have to get after the quarterback, but also they have to defend the pass. It's just basic defense stuff. Not horrible against the run usually, but all you have to do is pass on them, and we can't stop them. We can't stop anybody from throwing the ball, and that's not good. Next, from Billy Penn at The Kapler. Do you still use your Peterson lighter, or would you recommend something else? I do still use it when I'm at home, and it still works great. I have no issues with it, so I would recommend it. He also has another question. Do you find that certain pipe styles are better for specific cuts of tea? For example, a tall, thin bowl may be better for flakes. This is something I've touched on before, and this is one of the ways in which I am considered apostate by some people. I don't find much difference. Doing a flake, a lot of people will say, oh, a tall, like chimney-shaped bowl is better for a flake if you're going to fold it. I haven't noticed much difference. I'm not saying that there isn't any difference whatsoever, but I think it is insignificant enough that it's not going to affect your enjoyment of whatever blend you happen to be smoking in whatever pipe. I think it's more important to have, just in general, a good smoking pipe. If you have one that's prone to be wet, one that is just mechanically not sound, that makes far more difference than the shape of the pipe, in my opinion. I know there are people who will disagree with me, but that's where I stand on that. And then from YouTube comments, we have a question from Omar Joe. Omar says, hope you get well soon, Bradley. So do I. So I don't subject you to my throat clearing and coughing and Really trying to get into Elizabethan, but I feel like all I get is hot air and spice. I can't help but feel I'm missing out when you talk about it. As your favorite blend, what should I look out for in terms of taste to enjoy it a bit more? That's kind of hard for me to say. I think developing a taste for a Virginia blend, even a Virginia Perique blend, is maybe something that might take you a while. And there's definitely no reason why you have to like Elizabethan just because I like it. It could be that it just won't ever appeal to you. But I think having more straight Virginia blends, more blends that are just Virginia Perique, sort of try a sampling of those and see if you start to appreciate more of the nuance of a straight Virginia. If you have a blend that has Latakia, I don't know, Dark Fire Kentucky blends or components that are more strongly, I guess just more in your face with the flavor, it's hard to pick up the nuance sometimes of some of the other flavors in the blend. So if you're just going with a straight Virginia, I guess it's like bread. Bread can seem pretty plain, but bread is a very broad subject as well. And if you start having something like bread's boring. But if you eat bread all the time, this is a horrible analogy, but I'm going to keep going with it, you may notice a subtle difference between a barley bread or a more wheat-based bread with grains in it. This is all just falling apart. But what I'm trying to say is, even though a straight Virginia blend may seem boring and may seem plain, you may find that if you keep trying with straight Virginias, and Elizabethan isn't a straight Virginia, it's a Virginia Perique, but if you keep trying with straight Virginias, you may develop more of a taste for different kinds of Virginias, and you may notice more nuance between different kinds of Virginias. And then when you go back to a Virginia Perique blend, you may find that you're appreciating it more and picking more flavor out of it. But I don't know, you may just never like Elizabethan. That just could be the way you are wired. But gang, I have soldiered on for long enough, I think. You can hear, I think, in my voice right now, it's pretty scratchy. So I think we should probably end. But before we do, I would like to thank our Patreon supporters, the beautiful, wonderful people on Patreon who support the channels. They are making so many things possible. They are helping us get the fancy camera. They are helping us buy equipment for the channels. They are helping us produce videos like the one you're watching now. And every week, we like to thank the wonderful people who support the channels at $25 or more a month. People like Ryan McFadin, MD of the North, Kirk Crompton, Private Eye, Cody Striegler, Glenn, David Gaudreau, Gus, Jason Buckner, Jen O'Side, and John Leone. We'd also like to thank the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 a month. People like Peter Straub and Bob Magee. Thank you all so much. If you would like to support the channels, there is a link to our Patreon page in the description box below. If you go 25 and up tier, you get a shout out every week. The Maniac tier gets to have a Skype conversation with me, for whatever that's worth. We also have merch available as well, so make sure you check that out. And yeah, gang, there are videos to watch. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the Bloodborne series, and then I think next week, not this coming week, but the week after, the Bloodborne series will come to an epic conclusion, so pay attention to that. Man, talking is harder than you think. And then on Wednesday, there will be a very special, very exciting, long time in the making video that you should check out as well. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley, you've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. Whew. I need some tea and some rest. I'll see you later. This is coffee, this isn't tea.